How many short stories do you write a year? Oh my goodness. This year a lot because I've been doing them on stream. In the past, I try to do a story a week, and I would usually come up short. This year, I'm probably I know I've done 70 or 80 stories already this year, just short stories, counting ones that I wrote off stream for some anthologies and such. Doing them on stream is kind of easy because I keep going until I'm finished, whereas I would normally take a lot of breaks. And I'm using them for Patreon and I'm using them for other things. So it's not just the act of writing stories. They're getting put places that are sources of income for me. And but yeah, this is a lot. This has been a big year, but part of it has been kind of expanding the streaming. And then of course this month where I'm doing a story every day has been pretty big too. What am I going to do with them all? In on Patreon, um, in October and in December, I put a story up every day. So I'm actually almost finished having those loaded up on Patreon. So I have 31 stories in October, including the videos that I've done here and edited for YouTube, and then I'll have 31 stories for December as well. So 62 altogether there, and then I pepper them out through other months on Patreon too. So I kind of keep um, a good stack of stuff there that makes it worth it to people to follow on there. Of course, a lot of you guys are seeing some of those stories here, a good number of them. So that's kind of what I do. There are some publishers that will take reprints or that don't really consider stories on stream to be already published. Most of them do, and so I'll place a couple of them with publishers as well. But a lot of the writing I do for publishers is actually off stream. And so I'm doing additional stories there as well. In the middle of all that, I'm working on novels and editing old stuff and getting it put up places and things. So I got a pretty good flow of stuff going right now. It's time. It fills up my time, but I feel like I got a good stride going on a lot of those things. So it's kind of cool that Patreon and then Twitch here have kind of made short story writing profitable again, which is interesting because I think deep down in my core I love doing short stories more. You can just, I'm probably not going to write a pirate novel anytime soon, but being able to write this story has been kind of cool, and it helps me work out ideas that I may work into novels later. So yeah, this year has been huge in terms of short story writing, like way beyond what I've done in the past. But a lot of that streaming, just the fact that I sit down and keep going until I'm finished, which makes a 2 to 3 hour stream, which is kind of what I'm going for here on Twitch. Yeah, Ray Bradbury. That's actually where that started, a story a week. And a bunch of us, like Ray Bradbury's quote is that you should write a story a week because you can't write 52 bad stories in a row. And that's true. And then I think it's even more true here on stream, where the more and more I'm writing, like the better I'm getting at just putting a story together from scratch. But that's his famous quote, and that's kind of why me and a couple other authors kind of tried that, trying to do a story a week way before we were on Twitch. And I think 1 or 2 years I made all 52 stories, and then others I fell short. But it's a whole different animal now that we got streaming going. It's not a bad idea, and it's not even a bad idea to try that 52 stories a week, even if you don't succeed, quote unquote. Like succeed being getting all 52 stories. If you stay on that pace and you write things and you're okay with getting a couple bad stories, a few of those stories will be good, and a couple will be great. And so when you write that many stories, you end up hitting your best stuff. And so I recommend it a lot. Now it's a pretty heavy ask. So if you're not used to writing at that pace, and especially if you got other writing going on, it's a pretty big challenge. And one way to get around that, of course, is to make a few of those stories you write, make them into flash fiction, so you're doing 1,000 words or less. That's not cheating, and it keeps you from having to do 52 5,000 word stories, which can be a lot. But yeah, it's not a bad idea, and like I said, live streaming my writing has completely changed everything. It almost feels like at the end of the day that I didn't really write a story because I did it all here on Twitch and it's done. and so I'll edit it on stream, and I'll do the final readings on stream and all that stuff. So it almost feels like this is a separate category, and that's probably just a mental thing on my part. But streaming has really changed the way I write, and even the stories I do off stream are getting placed more. So I don't know that stream is magic, although it does feel magical on here sometimes. But I do I do think just the act of practicing, like putting out volume and then realizing that there's some of them are good and some are not. Do you feel nervous doing it on Twitch compared to doing it by yourself? It was really alien at the beginning. So it's I said it's a lot like rubbing your stomach and patting your head to especially the way I do it, where I'm speaking the story out loud as I'm typing. But as with anything that you do, it gets better with time. So the nervousness for me is not actually the writing. A lot of times, and especially now that in this month I'm doing a story every day, so um, you know constantly getting ready for stream every single day. The nervousness is kind of like making sure I don't forget anything, like making sure I remember to turn on my microphone in OBS, making sure I have the scenes in order, making sure that the cameras are all the little stuff that I make sure the lights are on and all that. So kind of remembering, I have a checklist next to me, of course, but remembering to do all that kind of brings the nerves up a little bit. And then coming in with the story titles, a lot of times I walk in and I only have a vague idea of what I'm going to write. So that act of sitting down and saying, okay, first sentence, and then I start going. I used to kind of get myself worked up a little bit, trying to think, okay, I should really think out what I'm going to do and all that. But I found that if I do it just like I would do off stream, the fact that when you start to write a story, you start with a blank page and you just start to write. And you might get it the first time, or you might have to fix some things, but the first thing you got to do is get the story down. So I've done less thinking about it. Like I'll let the idea kind of brew in my head, for the day. Like I'll write down the title and kind of get some character names and some ideas and kind of let the story percolate a little bit. But then once I sit down, I just kind of trust myself to do the writing. And so that's kind of how it's worked for me. And of course, it's gotten easier as I've done it. So I'm really, I tell this to a bunch of authors that I know that are into some technology stuff. They do Patreon, they do social media, they've done live streams where they do a reading. But I've talked to them about getting on Twitch and doing more because I want to see more authors on here. I want to see more writers, and part of it's selfish. Like I want to see what other people do and kind of steal the good ideas, and I hope they come on and steal whatever they can use from me. And then, of course, the more of us that are on here, the more readers and other writers will look in. And, of course, that's good for everybody.